What is the secret of national prosperity? The fundamental requirement for prosperity is accountability and justice. Injustice manifests as corruption. Injustice and corruption occur due to the concentration of power, enabling the powerful to violate the law and get away with it. As John Acton said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. A distributed governance structure with collective decision making is the proven solution to fight concentration of power. A structure where no official can harm an individual, thus all governing authorities should have checks imposed by the collective decision making of locally elected representatives. Three government entities directly administer justice. Number one is the police to catch the criminals. The second is the judiciary to decide punishments for wrongdoers. And the third is the taxation agency for the collection and distribution of taxes. Money is power. For a just society, it must be distributed equitably. For example, let's compare Pakistan as a third world country with the United States. If a police officer arrests a violator or a criminal in Pakistan, they get calls from powerful officials and politicians to release the perpetrator. If the police officer tries to enforce the law, they may be transferred to a remote location as a punishment from the influential people. The police have no independent powers to enforce the law because they are appointed and controlled by higher authorities. Enforcement of law is not rewarded. Instead, police officers benefit by pleasing their superiors and are thus forced to engage in corruption. In the US, metropolitan areas are divided into small cities. Each of the local city councils independently administers the policing and other government services. For example, the Minneapolis-St. Paul metroplex of 2.5 million is divided up into about 250 small cities. Eagan, Minnesota is one of such cities with a population of 60,000. The police serving residents of Eagan are held accountable by the local people. How? By voting to elect the mayor and the city council members responsible for regulating the police. Even the mayor of this small city does not have autocratic powers. All decisions must be approved by the mayor and the 4 city council members. Each city council member represents a segment of about 15,000 people. So this is the structural difference between police officers, their authority, and their accountability in the United States. Let's look at the judiciary in the US. As part of the distributed structure, both the federal and the state governments operate court systems. The state courts handle the majority of cases concerning individuals. Federal courts decide specific cases such as the constitutionality of a law or matters that span across states. Except for 7 relatively small states, judges are directly elected. Even in the states that judges are not elected, they are confirmed by elected bodies such as the elected state representatives. Moreover, most trials are decided by the jury. The court structure varies by state. For illustration, in Minnesota, with a population of 4.5 million, district courts are located in each of the 87 counties and are grouped among 10 judicial districts for administration purposes. All judges are elected for a 6-year term by the people they serve. Thus, the local population holds these judges accountable through election. The concept of elected judges and trials by jury is absent in all the third world countries. The third crucial structural difference is the collection and distribution of taxes. In the United States, taxes are collected locally by the city, county, or state to serve the local population. Federal tax only funds healthcare for the seniors and welfare recipients. Second, Social Security payments to the retirees. Third, defense. Fourth, welfare programs. And fifth, interest on debt. In third world countries, the central government collects the majority of taxes and controls who they fund. This is why the cities have better roads and services, but the poor people living in villages lack access to water, electricity, and roads. These governance checks with localized collective decision making are implemented at every level in the US. Locally elected school board members govern schools, or there are park boards for managing parks and recreation in a city. Similarly, at the federal level, the US Constitution establishes three separate but equal branches of government: the legislative branch, which makes the laws, the executive branch to enforce the laws, and the judicial branch to interpret the law. This distributed structure prevents one branch of federal government from becoming too powerful and enforces checks and balances. Unless structural changes are enforced, justice cannot prevail and corruption will continue. With injustice and corruption, prosperity would never materialize. The secret of prosperous countries is checks and balances enforced via a distributed structure subservient to the local population. The US has helped implement the same structural checks and balances in Germany, Japan, and South Korea. All these countries have done tremendously well. Coincidentally, language, culture, religion, race, and even the continent for all these countries are different. None of these factors matter for achieving prosperity. What matters is accountability via localized structural checks and balances. We need to stop blaming our people or our leaders. They're playing by the prevailing rules. For example, in a cricket ground or a soccer field, a person's skin color does not matter. Everybody plays the game in the same fashion because of identical rules. Folks, we have to change the rules of the game. We have to adopt localized checks and balances, holding government employees accountable to serve the local population. The colonizers left, but unfortunately, their system continues. New officials moved into their large estates and continue to govern and extract wealth in the same manner. Similar to the British, some liberated colonies still move their wealth to the West. The power of the government structure is so dominant that even when the players change, the outcome remains the same. Together, we can fix the broken countries. As a start, let the local bodies elect their judges. To fully understand the solution, please read my book, Prosperity for All Nations, and join hands in creating awareness projects that there is a solution.